think how it feels on my sword.
Just stay there, okay? Just hold on.
How deep is it? Are we gonna die? Is the house gonna fall on top of us? Mommy!
Hey, we just got home, and you would not believe it.
I was gonna partake in surfing the web for some things that I'm into.
What kind of stuff? Everything is under control.
Rose Byrne, welcome to the program, and congratulations on the Golden Globe, the Oscar nomination, now the BAFTA nomination as well. Look, when you first heard about this role and took a look at the script, did you think that it would lead to all of this?
No. Oh gosh, no. I've given up ever trying to anticipate anything in this business of what I knew it was a exceptional screenplay. I thought it was really like fire. It read very much like what you see in the film. Very gallows humor, very much ahead of the audience, so not sort of disorienting, and very funny at times. A little surreal, a lot of horror tropes in there. But I've given up ever anticipating how something will be received or anything like that. But I knew it was a gift for any actress to give this opportunity.
Yeah, I want to ask you about what this film is about. There's a lot of genres going on there, a lot of crossing over, as you say, but ultimately this is a film that depicts motherhood in a way that I suppose we're not used to seeing all that often on screen. There is a line that really jumped out to me when your character, Linda, says during a pretty intense scene, "I'm one of those people who's not supposed to be a mum." For those who haven't seen the film, I mean, can you describe just what's going on there?
Yeah. What's going on there? It broke all the rules. Yeah, she broke all the rules when she wrote this script. It's uncomfortable. It's like what people think but don't say. It's what, in your darkest moments being a parent, you may confront yourself with your limitations. And she wrote it and she said it. And it's very, you know, Mary's very kind of anti-establishment. Mary Bronstein, our director, my writer-director, and she's a little punk. And I think there's elements of that in the film. And as you said, it sort of defies genre. There's a lot of different genres going on in the picture. But it is about being a mother, being a parent, and the isolating experience that can happen. But saying that, audiences who I didn't anticipate have really embraced it. Like young people, it played at the Toronto Film Festival, and it was really like a horror film. Like they're really not afraid of it. They're not scared of those darker sides or those more confronting things. Maybe because they haven't had to live it yet. But and then at the New York Film Festival, it played. You know, it was a very sophisticated crowd, so immediately they knew they could laugh. You know, they had permission to sort of laugh as soon as Conan comes on the screen, and then the therapist sequences early on are quite, you know, there's an element of great humour in there, and so it's been kind of a real magic trick to see it play to different audiences.
Well, you mentioned Conan O'Brien, a legendary comic, and I suppose an unconventional casting choice for a role like this, where he plays a therapist, a deadpan therapist, and clearly not a very good therapist.
We are out of time. I have another patient coming, so...
Wait, now? What about the 10-minute warning?
Yeah, I just wasn't paying attention.
You didn't respond to the email that I sent you about my dream.
I don't respond to my clients' dream emails.
And what was it like acting opposite someone like that who'd never done, I guess, this sort of thing before?
I guess it probably helped that I have worked with a lot of comedians. So I've worked with a lot of, you know, like... And then obviously Conan is different. He's obviously, you know... a talk show host, but he's primarily, you know, so, but I think perhaps coming from having done a lot of comedy, that prepared me for that working. I mean, I remember working with Martin Short and I couldn't keep my face straight because he was so funny. And it was a very serious show we were doing, Damages. But Conan didn't want it. Like, she had to convince him to do it. He didn't have to do this, you know, but I think he chose to do something radical and was like, all right, I'm going to dive in. But Mary Bronstein really wanted to give the actress playing Linda sort of unexpected scene partners. So to create different sort of energy and chemistry and something, you could go a far more typical route with that therapist traditional kind of therapist casting. And same goes for the character that ASAP Rocky plays, James, that sort of looking at musicians. That was, I think, an idea A24 had, because she just couldn't she couldn't find him. And that was a huge unlocking. Like, he had done maybe one other job. It was working with these very fresh kind of energies. And it's just a testament to Mary, because she knew tonally what she wanted, and she knew the quality they would bring to the screen. And that's half of it, is like the relationship you would already have with this person, I think, as an audience member. And it's not, Conan spent 28 years listening to people talk about themselves and being a gregarious host, and then he's listening to me and he couldn't be more contemptuous. So it's like quite funny,
And I mean, just on those scenes between the two of you, there are some pretty intense scenes. Your character, Linda, really is in free fall in some of these scenes. And I guess it's trying to show what people in that situation need. Did you come away with a better understanding of what people like Linda do need when they're in that moment?
Oh, absolutely. And also the limitations of therapy. I think I walked away with understanding that, and also the sort of circuitous nature of sort of a therapist who has a therapist who has a therapist who has a therapist. And I'll never forget when I read in the screenplay that she was a therapist. When you see her walking down the hall to her own office, I was like, wait, what? And I kept going back and going, she, and then she has a patient. And there was a wonderful symmetry in the script again. And this was, again, I think, that conversation around therapy. Mary Bronstein's done a lot of therapy, so she really wanted to touch on that in the screenplay. And to me, it was sort of the love story of the film, like the breakup. Obviously it's never transgressive, but there's that element at the end. Once he's her only reflection of her behavior, and once he breaks up with her and ends the relationship, the movie's over. I mean, 10 minutes later, the movie's over. Like, she has no guardrails anymore.
Yeah, there's a passing reference in one scene to the Lindy Chamberlain case, and I'm sure a lot of Australian viewers wouldn't have missed it. Was this a metaphor for the judgment that mothers can constantly face, and your character Linda was constantly facing?
I love that reflection, and there is absolutely an element of that, in motherhood. You're either sort of ignored or you're revered. So it's this very, kind of a study in contrast, I think, when you're a parent. I've had so many friends of mine who've seen the film who've gone, oh my gosh, I feel seen. I feel seen. This is an experience I had with my child, or I know, or even like being a caretaker for somebody. And I think that the script had a wonderful symmetry to it. So these sort of reflections of motherhood throughout it. And, my character has a patient who's suffering from postpartum psychosis, really. And my character ignores that. And then she becomes what will probably be a terrible article that my character is already reading on the internet. So it's just sort of like a very cyclical kind of horror nature to it that I think it's subtle, but when you really think back to the film, you're like, oh my gosh, there's all these little sort of signposts buried in there. It's very powerful.
Well, Rose Byrne, congratulations again on all the awards and the nominations. Australians clearly are cheering you on.
I'm such a fan of the show. I always watch it when I'm home, so it's really nice to chat with you.
Well, that's lovely to hear as well. Good luck, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks.